fun begin.
Hey, Mr. Pond Boss, tell me how. Hey, Mr. Pond Boss, let's do it now. Hey, Mr. Pond Boss, you're the one that makes fishing so much fun. Well, I woke up this morning and I headed for my pond. Meet Mr. Pond Boss, yeah, we're gone.
Greetings, everybody. Bob Lusk, the Pond Boss here, coming at you live from the Purina Farm in Grays Summit, Missouri. Glad you're here. Looks like we got a few folks checking in. Hey, there's Mark Sanders from Tyler, Texas. Jim Liner from Alabama. Tori Rhodes, howdy. I know there's some others that are on, but holy cow, it's kind of just started off a little faster than I could think. Dick Tabbert, looks like Dick, I think he's from Michigan. Anthony Abate, Chicago, Illinois. Hey, I'm hanging out first up today at the Purina Farm where the research happens to create some of the best products on the planet. And I'm hanging out with farm manager Kurt Schultz. Kurt, welcome.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here at the farm.
Hey, I'm glad to be had here at the farm. You know what? We're going to have a lot of fun. We got a lot of stuff to pack into an hour, so we're going to get going on it. Let's see, Michael Schlegel, he's on board. I see him there, and he's sitting across from me over there. He's a nutritionist. He's going to be joining us here in just a little bit. Son-in-law, Dennis Bakshi. So I'm going to refresh my laptop here so I can see who all is coming on. It's a lot easier to see on this laptop than that little iPhone machine there, so bear with me here. While we're doing that, you guys know the drill. Please do this. Please click like, hashtag Pond Boss Magazine, but the most important thing is share this live feed to your news feed. Now listen, if you do that, if you do those things, you're eligible for a drawing for a Pond Boss hat and a mug. And guess what? I haven't told my friends here at Purina, but we're going to throw a little Purina swag in there too.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe a shirt that says Aqua Max. Hey, look at this. Check this out. Aqua Max right there. Hey, who wants one? Raise your hand. But you know what? For that drawing, you've got to share this video on your timeline. So I'm going to scroll down here. Oh, look at there. Here we are. Look at that. There we are, Kurt. I'm seeing us.
Yep.
So we got a whole lot of things to talk about today. So bear with me 1 minute as I get this thing blown up, or we can look at it and be able to see some questions and talk. Clint Loveday, Chris Lee, and my laptop is not doing it. So, Jim Liner, yay Purina, when you come into my... Jim, I promise you, I will call you tomorrow and we will be working on your lakes the following week. So, give me a little time and we will get that figured out and get that set up and we'll pin down the day. Now, of course, one little issue I got is the impending birth of a grandchild. So you kind of got to give me a little flexibility. Bear with me there. Okay, now then, we've got it on the laptop. I need to turn the volume off, which I thought I already did that. It's not letting me. Okay, we got Daniel McWhirter. We've been communicating today. Dick Tabbert, John Taskett, Marvin Dooler, Victor Moberg. Greetings, everybody. Glad y'all are here. You know, Kurt, I want to talk to you a minute about what's going on out here because, you know, Purina not only has produced some outstanding fish foods and products for the pet industry and for the horse industry and, you know, show animals, things like that, but this facility here is beautiful. And, of course, I mean, all this is confidential and proprietary, so we're not going to talk about any of that kind of stuff, but what we are going to talk about is, you know, some of the projects, especially the lake. There's a focal point back here, and I remember looking at this lake a number of years ago, and shoot, that thing was 60 years old, or give or take a few years. It was silted in, and so you guys decided to do something about it. Tell everybody what you guys did.
Well, if we could turn the camera around, you would see we have a beautiful conference center that sits right here. Well, Bob's going to do it for us, so there you go. So if this was a golf course, this would be the signature hole. So our lake sits right here by the conference center. It's a focal point of the farm, and as you said, it was built about 60 years ago. And during that 60 years, we have grazed cattle around it. There's actually 41 acres, as you know, that drains into the lake. So over that 60 years, what was once an 18-foot deep lake actually ended up to be about a 6-foot deep lake. And given St. Louis heat and humidity, every summer it would turn to green algae, and it was unsightly. The fish had long died in it because the water quality was so bad. And two things: we wanted to clean it up and make it look good because it is the focal point of the center of the farm. and we wanted to get back and doing some aqua research again. So with your help and your guidance, 2 years ago, we drained it over the winter, and then in the spring, we began remediating the sediment in there. And we had a pretty good guess of how much was in there, but it surprised us. It was 38,000 cubic yards of sediment that we took out. So we did that. We disposed of the sediment. We reshaped the bottom of the lake. We put some fish habitat in there, riprap around the end, built a beautiful dock that you can see here behind us on the lake to go out on. And it filled up with water with a heavy spring rain. And a year ago to this month, we stocked it with little fingerlings. And as Bob can attest with our product and his guidance and helping us to put the whole program together, we now have bluegill in there that are the size of your hand.
Yeah, we stocked some bluegill fingerlings last spring, I think it was, and now there's some 5 to 7 inch bluegill. And
it is incredible, the kind of growth and development that we're getting. We have 3 feeders, Texas Hunter feeders, quality feeder that really works real well. We're feeding Aqua Max MVP right now, and the change in the fish is just unbelievable.
Yeah, we walked down on the dock. It's a 6.4 acre lake, everybody, and there's 3 feeders. There's one on a beautiful dock. Matter of fact, you can see the dock in the background, back there. And that dock is almost like just a living classroom. It's very, very cool. And there's a feeder on it. So we probably touched that feeder off 15 times today. We've been filming some vignettes for social media for Purina, and some things for their website.
They never stopped feeding.
And they ate every stinking time, so we kind of came to the conclusion that feed them a little more.
Oh, yeah. We'll push them hard.
Can you get any fish food here?
Oh, yeah, we can get some fish food here.
All right.
So we are delighted with the way it worked, and with your help. And again, we really appreciate your partnership and your expertise. And it's been great working with you. And I can't wait to see what this thing looks like in a year or 2 years.
Yeah, no kidding. Me too.
We're pulling trophy fish out of here.
And I got to tell you, just to give you folks a little backstory. Back in Pond Boss was born in 1991. And then in 1995, I got more active in the business side of it with founding editor Mark McDonald. We decided we needed a national advertiser. So we sent a letter to Purina Mills, 1601 South Hanley, St. Louis, Missouri. And not only did we get a letter back within about 5 or 6 days, they wanted to meet. So when you get your copy of Pond Boss magazine, when you open it up, since that day, the inside front cover has belonged to Purina Mills or Purina Fish Foods. And they also have the back cover. But even more importantly than that, they wanted to meet and they wanted to talk. So we met with several of the upper echelon guys at Purina back in 1995. And out of that meeting, the question was asked, what can we do to help grow this industry and maybe provide some products that you guys can use in the pond management business? And that was the day at a barbecue joint, Hammond's Barbecue in Glen Rose, Texas. That's where Game Fish Chow was born. And from that point to this point, even now, Purina works really, really hard to create the best products, even for our niche market. And one of my favorite things is you're not gonna buy it cheap, but you're gonna buy it good. A bag of MVP is $45. But you know what? Sticker shock. So what? The thing is when you feed that fish food, you're gonna get gains like you've never seen. It's going on in this lake right here. You're gonna grow some big fish, and you're gonna grow them fast. So it's a pretty good deal. Let's see, we're starting to get a few people. Looks like Bob Wisher. We know Bob.
Oh, yeah, I know Bob.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
That's it. Fred Bingaman from over there at Brownstown, Illinois. Darlene Pruitt. Danny Tolliver from Texas. Darlene's from Eureka, Missouri. Joseph Obikiel. James Sansom. Wanda Dove Pullman. Let's see here. Who else we got? John Taskett, Marvin Dooley. Boy, we got a great big crowd on there tonight. Glad you guys have joined us. Victor Moberg always makes fun of my jingle. He thinks that's a funny song. I'm gonna send you a copy of it, dude. You know what? I meant to tell you. The hat, the mug. Nick Foster, you won it this week, buddy. Now, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get an Aqua Max shirt for next week. Casey Jensen's checking in all the way from South Dakota. Vito Barnes from Whitesboro, Texas. I know him. Tori Rhodes is a regular. So let's see who else we got on here. If this laptop will. Okay, let's see here. C. Ray Ballman. I have a fish feeder on my dock hooked up to Alexa. Stop it. You're kidding me. In the morning and evening, I say, Alexa, turn on the fish feeder. Works perfectly. Smart pond. Dude, you're killing me, man. You're having an affair with your feeder. I love that. Okay, see, now we got to figure out how to do that. You got to be standing up there at the conference center
I
and
need
do
to
it.
find a way to be able to use my Alexa at home and turn them on.
Yeah, no
out here at
kidding.
the farm.
Uh-oh,
That would
look
be
out.
cool.
Look
look at that.
there goes a bag of fish food right behind
there it
us.
goes, right down to
I
the
guess
dock.
Rob is going to go
Going
down
right
and
in the
feed
lake
the
to feed
fish.
those fish.
All right, so let's go back and talk a little bit about the lake. We stocked bluegill, we stocked some red ear sunfish, fathead minnows, and some hybrid stripers. You know, and the bluegill are just erupting. I'm a little bit worried about those hybrid stripers. I kind of wonder how, what's going on with them. So we're going to bring the electrofishing boat up and go and see. And we didn't see very many of those today, so we're going to have to check that out. Dick Tabbert says my shirt size is 3XL. Well, if it wasn't so embarrassing, I'd take my 3XL off and hand it to you through the phone, dude. All right, David Scheidegger from Wisconsin, and Christopher E. Shell, another from Eureka, Missouri. Any kin to you, Rob? His brother. Sweet.
It's just down the road.
All right,
Eureka.
Darlene Pruitt says, I saw Rob. Yeah, he kind of stuck behind us with a bag of fish food. I'm surprised he didn't throw any of it at us. Let's kind of talk a little bit more about how I think it would be intriguing for people to understand how the farm works. Tell people don't give away any trade secrets, but how does the farm work?
Well, the farm started in 1926, but going back before that, in 1916, Purina realized that research was the foundation of everything that we were going to do. That we wanted to discover what's next, what's best for animals and their health and growth and development. So back in 1916, Purina opened a laboratory to begin to look at different kind of feed ingredients and how they interact together and how they work. The obvious extension of that was, hey, we ought to have our own farm. So in 1926, came out here and bought originally 260 acres, which has grown into 1,200 acres, and now it's a operating dairy farm. We have grass cattle out here, we have companion animal, we have horses, we have chickens, you name it. We're operating just like a producer would on their facility, but we're pushing the envelope to see what's next, what's best in animal nutrition.
Excellent. And you know what? If you'll pull the phone or pull your device close to you, you can smell the farm. This is a working farm. I'm telling you. There's some cattle back there. I can hear a planer in the background. Somebody's doing something with some wood here on the farm. So and you've got, just kind of tell people about the different Purina businesses. I mean, we're going to focus on fish food, for the majority of this talk, but just to inform people about how Purina works. What all do you have out here? You've got horses. You've got dairy cattle.
All right, so we have an operating dairy. We milk 300 cows 3 times a day. We have a beef facility, so we have 15 pastures. We have cow-calf pairs out on pastures. We have a small feed lot, so we can mimic anything that a cattle producer would do. Over in equine, we have about 80 horses, mostly American quarter horses and some thoroughbreds. So we're doing palatability research, we're doing exercise physiology research, mare and foal growth and development, companion animal, everything from goats to sheep to family flock to rabbits.
Yeah, the chickens have turned into a big deal.
Chickens are a big deal.
We have 35 now. Yeah. We have 17 big ones and 18 chicks. And I think my wife figured some of those chicks would die, but no, they're being fed right and cared for. So anybody need any eggs? Look me up in August.
And again, the newest research focus, with the lake now is back into doing some serious aqua research here. So.
That's good. See, the thing about this lake is it had lived its life, and it had gotten so eutrophic, just like some of your ponds and lakes, that it was to the point that it had heavy blue-green algae. Fish struggled to live in it, especially in the summertime when it got hot, photosynthesis and respiration. It was just such an intense plankton bloom that it just wasn't a productive lake. And if you can imagine a 6-acre lake right in the middle of a highly active working farm, just what would happen with it. And I know you guys out there, some of you have some working farms as well. And if you've got some ponds that are eutrophic, you may want to look at renovating. Now, of course, it took, 3 years from the first talking phase to get to the point where you guys were ready to pull the trigger. But when you did, you had a game plan that you were able to execute.
I think that's the key, is having a good solid plan and again, thank you for your guidance, but we just worked the plan.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I mean,
yeah, it did. It did. And you had good contractors. And
good contractors.
Then we came back in and designed some pretty cool fish covers, some largemouth bass structure. There's some moss-back fish attractors. Of course, and I always want to thank Texas Hunter for being a sponsor, as well as Purina, you know, to sponsor this video broadcast and just let people know how important it is with these partners and sponsors. And Texas Hunter's got 3 feeders out here, and you know, great habitat, and we're getting ready to stock largemouth bass. The food chain's ready. And we're going to get going. I see Thomas Davis has joined. I believe Thomas has a dealer down there in the Fairfield area, if I recall. Looks like David Scheidegger got a question. He's trying to figure out the best feeder species to add to a pond that I want big bluegills in. I don't have the availability of putting a feeder on it because of private property. Okay, so I'm going to make an assumption that if you don't put a feeder on it, you're a little bit worried because somebody's going to steal it, and maybe it's not your property. I don't know. So, the best type of feeder, there's a variety of feeders that you can buy. Now, of course, go to the Texas Hunter website and take a look at that. They've got some scatter feeders that are $250, all the way up to some of the really nice, big 250-pound feeders that are close to $1,000. You know, so there's a wide variety of products. I can remember bump feeders when I was raising catfish. I took a barrel. Listen to this. You're gonna love this. I took a 55-gallon barrel, drilled a hole in the bottom of it, a little bit bigger than a tennis ball. Then I got some all thread, ran through the feeder, and then hung some all thread down with a tennis ball on it. They came through the bottom of the barrel. Then I hung the barrel up and filled it up with sinking catfish food back in the 1980s. And the catfish would come in and bump that rod, which would shake the tennis ball back and forth in the hole and drop the feed straight down in the pond. You know, and I'll make one of those for you for nothing. No, it won't. You need a better feeder than that now. Then, you know, there's a difference between floating fish food, sinking fish food. In a minute, we're going to get Dr. Michael Schlegel over here, and he's going to talk a little bit about the different types of feed. So, let's see here. What else? Leanne, our works for us. She's our marketing director at Palm Off. She loves the view. Hope you've taken a lot. And I haven't taken any pictures. All these guys around here have taken pictures. Y'all send me some pictures, will you? They will. Let's see. Darlene Pruitt wants to know, can people visit the farm?
We are not open to the public. We do hold about almost 50 different events a year at the farm, and they're designed for our salespeople to invite different livestock producers. So we do cattle VIPs, we do dairy VIPs, we do swine VIPs. So we bring actual producers here to kind of show them who we are and what we do, our investment in research and development, the kind of performance that we're getting out of our herd. So we use it kind of as a selling tool to help, you know, show them how we can improve their business, but we're not open to the general public. Just there's proprietary things, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
it
the fish
costs
business,
a buck or two to run this place.
I mean, our R&D is not free.
No.
You know, and so you want to protect those ideas. I'll tell you one of my favorite things about Purina, Kurt, is you guys are an ingredient-based, results-based feed company, where others out there are more like least cost. And that makes your feed cost some more, maybe a little bit more than some of the competitors. But I will take this feed over any other feed that I've ever used, and I love it.
And the beauty of the farm is every product that we have has been researched here, tested here, proven here, before it ever goes out into a consumer's hands.
Right.
So our product will do what we say it does because of this place and our ability to prove it here. And while this place does cost a few dollars to run,
yeah.
If you took all of our product and put it into a 50-pound bag, it costs 4 cents a bag to run this facility.
Really?
So as a consumer, if you want to have the confidence in a product that it'll do what it says it will do,
yeah,
it's 4 cents for that confidence.
Yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
You know, I'm glad you guys can figure that out. But that's well worth it. Let's see here, Elmo, Jim Liner, my Purina shirt size is XL when you come. Okay, I'll bring you a shirt, dude. But you're gonna wear it, and you're gonna wear it on camera, right? Yeah, I'll do one of these. Randy Ochoa, what's up? What's up with you? Sheridan Ashmore from Georgia. Daniel Robichaux, you know him?
Oh, I know that guy.
Hey, you should be here, dude.
Louisiana.
Yeah, hey, we were looking at some crawfish today where they're doing some studies on crawfish bait, crawfish food. I don't know, did he start that?
They came from Louisiana.
Yeah, did you bring those crawfish up here? Anthony Abate, do you recommend a particular Purina fish food for carp, koi, or goldfish? I do. You know what? We'll get Mike Schlegel over here in a minute and let him answer that. But here's the bottom line. Is there, 35 years ago, if you went to the feed store, you could buy catfish chow or sinking fish food. And now there's such a broad lineup of products that where you can have a feeding program. I mean, you can pick the kinds of fish you want to eat or feed. You know, the carp, koi, goldfish, they're vegetarians. You know, they're going to eat a grain-based fish food, so you can feed them any kind of the least expensive fish food, and they're going to thrive. Now, if you've got koi and you want the colors to come out, you need to feed a koi food. You know, like we were talking today, and one of the guys asked me, "Has anybody ever, when you ask them what they feed, they say dog food?" Yeah, they feed dog food to their fish. Ask them what do they feed to their dogs. You know, so there are some good feeds for target animals, and you guys can figure that out and learn with it. Let's see, Anthony got that question. Jim Fritchie, good to see you, Jim. Clint Loveday, I love my Texas Hunter feeder. Attaboy, thanks. I'm amazed at the aggressive feeding I'm getting since I switched to Aquamax. I found them both on Pond Boss. Thanks for the plug there, buddy. I'll tell you this, you know, it was probably 2005 or 6 when I really zeroed in on Aquamax as a feed. Once I saw my first 2-pound bluegill in 2006, I was hooked. You know, I mean, I'd been feeding game fish chow, I'd been feeding some grain-based fish foods, and that was about the time that Purina was zeroing in on specific nutrition for different species of fish. And the first time I saw a 2-pound bluegill, I knew we were onto something. And now I bet you I've held 5,000 2-pound plus bluegills in my hand.
So what do you think our bluegill are in the lake now? So
down there,
fingerling.
Yeah, they were about 1.5 inches to 2 inches long when we stocked them a little over a year ago, and they're at least 1/3 of a pound now. Some of them look like they might be 1/2 pound. So those bluegill, probably the top end was about if I move it there. Now that looks bigger, right? Okay, so they're anywhere from 5 to 7 inches. I did see a few 4.5 inches. You know, and then there's some young of the year, so they're spawning. Rex Raines, he lives nearby here. He's a big Pond Boss fan. Gretchen Richards Riley, there she is right there. Hey, Gretchen, she's right here looking at us. Dion Myers, Randy Ochoa, no catfish. You already said that. I didn't say it. No catfish. Hello. Okay, hello. Not sure what you mean by that. Every time we have a fish fry, it's usually with catfish. We have a catfish pond at the house. You know, so holy cow, we've already busted through 22 minutes, looks like. So I tell you what, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get Dr. Michael Schlegel over here. All right. Well, listen, hey, thanks, man.
You bet.
I enjoyed hanging out with you today.
Yeah, you come back
we shot
anytime.
A bunch of videos today. They were pretty darn good.
Good day.
Yeah, you did a great job.
All right, thank you.
All right, buddy. All right, come here, Dr. Schlegel. Bring your notepad. Put your mortarboard on. We're gonna graduate our talk into different kinds of fish food.
Yes, sir.
It's Dr. Mike Schlegel from Purina, and you've been here now for how long?
2.5 years.
Okay, and your background is?
I am a animal nutritionist by training. Got my PhD at Michigan State. Also did a postdoc at the University of Florida in Disney's Animal Kingdom in exotic animal nutrition.
What?
And then for 10 years prior to joining Purina, I was the director of nutrition at the San Diego Zoo.
Oh my gosh! And here you are in Gray Summit, Missouri. I love that. What's this little change of pace for you?
Yeah, everything's every day's a new day and a lot of new questions to answer, and so that's a great opportunity.
Tell us a little bit about the lineup of fish foods that Purina's got, and kind of what your role is with that, so everybody will know. Because I want them to start sending you the questions and emails. I love answering all these great questions. They're fun.
So I'm in a group called Technical Innovation, and my specific role is technical solutions. So I answer those customer questions. I answer those questions from our dealers who sell our feed. I work with our R&D group to develop new feeds, as well as translate the research we do here for dissemination to the public.
Huh. You want to write an article for Pond Boss from time to time?
Maybe one of these days.
Raise your hand if you want to hear from him. I do. I'd love to have some of that out here on Pond Boss. And so basically what I just heard you say is you're the guy that is figuring out, you know, I mean, the recipes are there, the ingredients are there, and now you're doing some interpretation so that you can convey more information to the public to make them better consumers.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. And so you know, I mean, there's a lineup of aqua feeds here. You guys call them aqua feeds. Everything from fry starter all the way up to those big chunks that are largemouth bass feed for feed trained largemouth bass.
Yeah, we have I guess 5 really different groups of feeds. We have the game fish chow, which you have already talked about. We have our Catfish 32 product, and then we have our Aquamax products. So they start with the starter diets, which come in 5 different sizes, from a powder to Aquamax 400, which is a grower diet. And those are good for both carnivorous as well as omnivorous fish. And then based on the fish that you have, we have the Aquamax pond fish diets, which is Aquamax 2000 and 4000, good for catfish or tilapia.
Okay, so those are grain-based feeds.
Those are mostly plant-based, yes.
Okay, so the pond fish 2000 and 4000 are vegetables,
yes,
basically.
Yes.
Where the Aquamax sport fish is fish meal based.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yes. So all the starters are fish meal based diets.
Yes.
Which with fish meal the first ingredient, and then we have the sport fish diets, which again are fish meal based diets, and they start with an Aquamax 500 and 600, which are great for bluegill, as well as starting your largemouth bass or hybrid striped bass.
Easy for you to say.
Yes. And then we have our largemouth bass for those largemouth bass over 12 inches that are feed trained.
Right.
And then we have our newest product called Aquamax Sportfish MVP, which is in between the grower diet and the Aquamax 500 and 600. It's 43% protein, 12% fat.
And the fat, what kind of fat is it?
It is fish oil.
Perfect. Perfect.
And it has 9 different particle sizes. So what's unique about that is it creates a vertical feed trough. So these 9 particles, the smallest 3, 50% of those sink. So it allows the more aggressive, larger fish to feed at the top of the pond.
Okay.
And the smaller, less aggressive fish feed closer to the bottom of the pond. So everybody gets the great nutrition of Aquamax.
Now see, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about with Purina that I've always appreciated, is they're looking to provide products that cater to our market as well. You know, and going back to the starters, I first started using starters back in the early 80s when I was raising some catfish. Because those little starter, you know, looks a little bit, not quite as thick maybe as cornmeal. And it's, I mean, when you smell it, you ain't getting it off your hands, it's so rich. And little bitty fish learn how to eat it really, really fast. So you graduate the fish from those small sizes. Now, if somebody wanted to use a starter in a pond, is that practical? Does it make sense?
You can. It depends on the needs of the fish.
Okay.
And what size of the fish, and it probably makes more sense to hand feed those fish rather than using a fish feeder.
You bet, because you're blowing flour out across
Yes,
the pond.
yes.
Yeah, you know, because most of the starter feeds are used in fish hatcheries and troughs. But, I mean, I've got a number of my clients that will buy some of the starters when they see the bluegill on beds out there, you know, where the little craters are out there where bluegills are. When they start seeing those little fish coming off there, they're pitching some of that feed out there adjacent to the spawning beds so those babies, because here's the deal. When a baby fish is first hatched, it weighs about 12,000 per pound. Now write that down because you're going to want to remember that. If you can keep that fish alive, especially bluegills, for 45 days, they're 30 per pound. It takes 10 pounds of bait fish for a game fish to gain a pound. Now how many pounds of fish food does it take to grow a pound? Let's just look, talking about the MVP. What are the conversion rates on that?
Well, typically it is around 2 pounds of feed per pound of gain of fish.
Well, that's a safe answer. I'm going to, since I don't have a real vested interest in no work for Purina, I'm going to tell you it's 1.3. Because when I'm feeding my fish, bluegills, and I do some feed trials, getting ready to do another one just for fun, I'm seeing 1.3. But that's also in a fertile pond where there's some natural food. But the bottom line is when we're feeding those good quality feeds, our conversion rates. Now, you might wonder, what's the difference between 10 pounds and 1.3 or even 2? Water. Because when a fish eats 10 pounds of bait fish to gain a pound, 80% of that's water. So if you wring all that out, you got about 2 pounds of goodies, which just parallels what Dr. Schlegel's talking about. So now, one of the things that's impressed me a lot is, you know, quality control has been a big proponent, a big point that you guys are zeroed in on. So tell people a little bit about some of the quality control of ingredients. I mean, do you reject any ingredients?
Yeah, so we do have a quality control program. So our products have to meet specific standards to be included in our feed, and there are feeds that are rejected because they don't meet that minimum standard. And while we don't use them, they probably don't go back to the producer. They just go someplace else. And so the quality
it goes
of our
into
product,
somebody else's feed.
correct.
Oh, great.
So the quality
okay.
of ingredients are very important to make sure that we have a quality product.
Hey, Bonnie Olson says tell you hello.
Okay.
All right. He says hi back. Let's see. Mike Rivers. I've been a Purina Feeds man for years. Mike, I think, is in Tennessee.
Wow.
So here's a big Purina fan. Joanne Pelafont. She's right there. She's after that. Matter of fact, she won the hat last week. Now remember, everybody. Hey, listen to me. Listen to this. Listen to me. $35. Pond Boss magazine. I got a receipt in my truck. I was going to show it to you. I took Debbie out to dinner last Friday night. $42. That dinner's gone. But Pond Boss lives on for a year. $35, and it's so there's more nuggets in this than you'll ever get from McDonald's. I promise. You liked that, did you?
Yes.
I'm being clever tonight. All right. So please subscribe to Pond Boss. You can go send us an email at info. Here's my cool graphics there, Mike. I got to hold it like that. There's a number to call at the office during business hours, info@pondboss.com. You can go to our website at pondboss.com. We've got a store there to subscribe from. You can call in, put it on a credit card. And I tell you what, if you will subscribe to Pond Boss in the next 24 hours, I will give you a gift subscription half price. So if you got somebody you really like, well, then you can pay the $35 for them and you get yours for half price. But we'll do that for you for the next 24 hours. Let's see here. Daniel McQuarter wants to know about vitamins and minerals.
Well, certainly vitamins and minerals are critical for the growth of fish. They're one of the 6 nutrients that are required. So vitamins are one nutrient, minerals are another nutrient, along with protein, fats, carbohydrates, and even water is required by fish. So they are recommended and requirements based on research that has been done in fish, and we meet and or exceed those requirements to allow the fish to meet their genetic potential for growth.
Yes, I love that. As a matter of fact, I can remember when we were working on the Aquamax largemouth feed line back, I don't know, probably 2005, 6, 7 through there somewhere. The feed, the bass were turning blue, or just kind of a light blue color. They didn't look natural. So I called the nutritionist back then, sent him a couple of them. He said, well, I can fix that. We'll change the vitamin package. So they tweaked the vitamin package, tweaked the minerals to help make a complete diet. And that's why we can grow 2-pound bluegills. It's all the ingredients that combined. This is, this MVP and the Aquamax sport fish products are the most complete diets I've ever come across.
Yeah, that fish meal has those amino acids, which are building blocks of protein. And when you feed fish meal in the diet, it more closely matches the muscle growth that bluegills or largemouth bass have, so they use that more efficiently than if they were using a soybean meal based diet, because it doesn't have all those amino acids that most closely match their
what
muscle
they
growth.
need.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I got it. Jim Fritchie says, is the Aquamax MVP the best feed for a 2-acre Texas pond with bass, bluegill, catfish, and minnows? Yes.
Well, it all depends. Like I said, it is good.
There's a better answer than that.
Well, I always say if you have multiple size fish, MVP is a great option. If you have more of a monoculture and they're all the same size, then probably one of our 500 or 600, which is a single size particle, that's probably more ideal than a multi-particle product like MVP.
Hey, Jim, I tell you what I would do. I would feed, first of all, since you've got some bluegill, bass, catfish, and minnows, I think I would start off, if you're feeding by hand, I think I'd start off with a scoop full of Aquamax 600. You're going to feed the big fish first. And once they eat and they're kind of toning down, then throw some MVP out there. And then the fish that are not quite as aggressive or don't want to be around that big boil up, that aggressive piranha style, eruption on the pond, then you can feed them that MVP and kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or raise a bunch of fish with 2 different feeds. Michael Eric from Iowa. I fed 500 my first year. The second year I fed mostly MVP and 2 bags of another brand. I'm feeding both right now. My question is, why is Purina better than Optimal? I'm not picking sides, I'm just curious. Well, I'm going to take that one. I'll tell you this, I've never tried that other feed. I've asked for it before and I haven't gotten it. And I believe in the ones that I dance with the ones that brung you. I know what Purina has done. I have been involved in their research. I've seen the results. Now, I'm not going to badmouth another feed. That other feed may be outstanding. I don't know. But what I do know is that when we're feeding Purina feeds, we are seeing some astonishing results. You know, now, I don't know how to put it any better than that. So, am I sounding political? I'm really not. I'm just telling you the truth. We grow big fish with Purina feeds, and that's what I use. And I'm so tickled to death that they got the MVP product out there, because that was, we first started talking about that probably 7 or 8 years ago at a expo in Denver, Colorado. You know, and now here it is. It's been on the market now, what, for a little over a year?
Yeah, and we had a number of customers who were mixing their own MVP. So this is really a labor-saving product for them, that they can just use it right out of the bag rather than mixing 3 different products.
Yep. I have seen, you know, of course, I go out and work on ponds and lakes. I've got 2 biologists full-time with Bob Lusk Outdoors. So we make our living helping people manage ponds and lakes, as well as producing Pond Boss magazine. I can't tell you how many times I pulled up, looked in a feeder, and there's 3 different sizes of feed in there, where they bought a bag of 400, 500, 600, and mixed it just so people could feed their little bitty fish as well as their big ones. John Taskett says, I am feeding my copper-nosed bluegill MVP, which they love. We'll be adding feed-trained largemouth bass fingerlings soon. As the bass grow, can I stick with MVP or mix MVP with your largemouth food? You need to graduate the sizes of food, don't you think?
Yes. So start them on MVP, that's great, but once they get over that 12 inches, they probably are ready, or I think you even told me 7 inches, they're ready for that largemouth bass diet.
Yep. And the thing is, you know, fish expend energy when they eat, and if you've got a 10-inch largemouth bass trying to eat little bitty pellets, it's just not efficient. So feed them bigger fish food, so that's good. Joanne Pillafont, Purina is a great company. Yes, they are. They're a real good company. I love them. Kirk Daly, y'all know him? Kirk Daly is on here, yeah. Ingrid O'Leary, love it. Raise your hand if you know Ingrid.
I do.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Looks like you got a fan club starting here. You're gonna have to be on this show more often. Laura Andrews, hi Mike, you look great. Holy cow, is this like all your family or what?
I think some of those are my wife's friends that are tuning in.
So your wife is sharing this video. My wife just shared it, I saw that. All right, let's see. Kevin Hartless from Whitesbury. You act like you know what you're talking about. It's a good act, isn't it, Kevin? Scott Hohensee is in the background. He joined in. John Micklick, Pond Boss. Hey, hashtag Pond Boss Magazine. Click like and share this video to your news feed, and you'll be eligible for a Pond Boss cap, a Pond Boss mug, and we're going to throw an Aqua Max shirt in the mix. Now, I'm going to keep this one because it fits. But I think we can get our hands on an Aqua Max shirt for somebody.
Possibly.
You know, to keep in mind, you know, this Facebook page has got lots of great information for you. Pondboss.com, PurinaMills.com. They're working on their website and got some great information. And you know, Purina raises has a ton of questions that they can answer about all the different products that they have. You know, if you don't do business with your local dealer, go talk to them and tell them you want some Aqua Max. There's sometimes some dealers don't stock everything. You got to go tell them what you want to buy. So go do that. Let's see here. Here's one for Scott when he shows up. Mike Cottrell, I love Antler Max and all y'all's all around fish food. That's good. All right, John Micklick. Now you tell me. I've already scrolled past that. I don't remember what it was. Okay, let's see here. Robin Adams, our bookkeeper from Pond Boss is here. Oh, are you still at work? Good girl. Galdonis Wilson, hey, Dick Tabbert, I mixed mine a bag of 500 and a bag of 600. Well, now he can buy MVP, can't he? All right. Bonnie Olson, so informative. Is this a weekly show? Yeah, Bonnie, you know what? We're doing it on Monday night tonight because we're here at the Purina Farm and wanted to share this knowledge with everybody and this experience. But typically we do it on Wednesday night, 6:30 to 7:30. So from here on, just be attuned to that. Wednesday, 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time. Pond Boss Magazine. We got all kinds of books and things. Go to the Pond Boss website. If you're getting ready to buy a pond or buy some land or build a pond, Here's Mike Otto. I tease him about this. This is Mike Otto's book. He is one of the premier pond builders, lake builders in the country. And I mean, just look at this book. It's got everything in it that you want to know about how to build a pond. And the thing is when he first got this book out, he was really proud of himself because says recipes from Mike Otto's 40+ years of pond building. And he says, man, I'm really proud of this. I said, he should be. He says, you know, what's it like having an author for a friend? I said, what's it like selling everything you know for $30? So we do have some good stuff, folks, I'm telling you. Let's see, we got some more stuff. Let's see, Bonnie Olson, Mike is a pro. Zoo to pond, he knows it all. Yeah. Man, you're running the gamut. A to Z or Z to A, right? Yeah. All right. And my wife, Debbie Dobbs, Lusk joined. Bobby Eaton, very informative. Thank you. Michael Eric, which Purina do you prefer for 3-pound catfish?
Probably either. It depends on the density of the pond. So either catfish 32.
Okay.
Or either pond fish 2,000 or 4,000.
Okay. And those are grain-based fish foods, which that's what catfish like, and they'll grow really, really well on that. Let's see. David Ricks is on board from Ohio. Bonnie Olson, I'd like a pond boss shirt. So would I. Let's see. Tori Rhodes, I purchased 30 blue cats. We've been using 500. Has been good growth. What should I use once they get past the 5-pound mark coming up soon? Blue cats are top of the line predators. You know, channel cats are more omnivorous. That's a big word for like a teenager. Rather eat meat, but if vegetables is it, that's what they'll eat. Well, blue cats are predator fish. So take them to 600.
Okay.
Take them to 600. Okay, let's see. Joyce Earl from Whitesboro. Dick Tabbert, what size feed for my largemouth and hybrid stripers? How big are they? You know, Dick, if you've got, the bigger the fish, the bigger the pellet.
Correct.
That's the way you need to see it. The bigger the fish, the bigger the pellet. I remember a nutritionist years ago when the Aqua Max largemouth, Dr. Mark Griffin, was doing what he did to create some of these feeds. I don't know how he came up with this, but he said a largemouth bass will strike 7 times and then quit. And he designed that Aqua Max largemouth pellet based on that theory that he claims is a fact. And I can't dispute it because, I mean, I watch him feed and I kind of think that's true. So he built the size of the nugget based on that right there.
Yeah, the more food they can consume at any one time is ideal for them.
Okay, so Dick Tabbert now revised his question a little bit. What size feed for my largemouth and hybrid stripers? They're 4 to 8 pounds.
4 to 8 pounds. Those are pretty big.
Aqua Max largemouth, feed by hand. There you go. There's Todd Austin. Neil Jackson, how do you decide how much to feed? That's a great question. You want that one?
Well, I can start with it.
Okay.
It will all depend on the size of the fish. Again, there's all these depends, but
Yep.
it is.
Yep, that's right.
It depends on the size of the fish, or the size of the fish, how warm your water is,
Mm-hmm.
and really your growth, how fast you want them to grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the smaller the fish are, you need to feed them more frequently.
So they digest it faster.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they have probably a higher rate per pound of fish to feed because they're really small. And as the fish age, probably the percent of food per pound of fish goes down, and the frequency goes down.
All right, so I'm gonna drill down into it and make it a little more simple as well. That is the 30,000 foot answer right there. Feed them all they'll eat within about a minute. Now, if they eat it in 10 seconds, they'll eat more. Now, if you want to feed more, feed more. And when he talks about density, how many fish do you have? The more fish you have, the more feed they'll eat because you got more mouths to feed. Correct. You know, it's when you open the door at Luby's, they're going to empty it if you're not feeding enough. So you got to crank it out to them if they're going to eat it. Now, since fish are cold-blooded, you know, they start feeding as the temperature warms in the spring. Then some fish peak out at 78, 79 degrees. Once the water gets hot, they feed less because they metabolize slower. And then when the water temperature hits that good window again in the fall, then they'll feed like crazy so you can bump it up. Here's your answer. Feed them all they'll eat that they'll clean up within about 2 minutes. If you're feeding more than that, they won't eat it. Don't feed that much. If they're eating less than that and you want to, feed them a little bit more. All right, David Ricks. Many of our clients now. David Ricks is in the pond management business with Aquadoc up in Ohio. And he says, many of our clients want to know how to get non-feed trained fish to start eating feed. That depends on the species, David. Largemouth bass, odds are high that mature largemouth bass won't come to fish food. Now, maybe a small percentage of them will. But bluegill will come to feed, catfish will come to feed, and that is a matter of consistency and feeding the right kind of feed. All right, Zach Vaughn, Todd Austin, Leslie Briggs says like. Let's see, Stephen Baker, Pond Bass. Hey, it's Pond Boss Magazine. I'm glad you're playing, though. Let's see, Robbie Shell in the background says, he's the guy carrying the bags of feed. He says, what's the danger of overfeeding?
Well, certainly water quality is probably the biggest danger.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't want to waste feed, number one, and food that's not consumed decreases our water quality, decreases the oxygen content in the water.
That's right. That's right. So, I tell you, when we first started working on Richmond Mill Lake over North Carolina, that lake spits 7,000 to 10,000 gallons of acid water over the spillway every minute. You know, so there's no fertility. That water is just about as sterile as it can get. And so we decided that would be the lake where the fish would be dependent on fish food. Right. So we put, I think it was 50 feeders on a 125-acre lake where we fed everything from Aquamax starter to 400, 500, and then Aquamax largemouth. And we don't worry about water quality on that lake. We worry about how much money we spend on feed. But we've grown some 3-pound bluegills, lots and lots of 2 1/4, 2.5-pound bluegills. So the answer is right. You don't want to feed more than what the fish eat. You want to feed a high quality feed, because if you're not feeding the right feed to the right fish, then you're going to have waste coming through the fish as well as what they don't eat, and that's going to cause water quality to deteriorate. A good general rule of thumb is you don't really need to feed more than about 15 pounds of fish food per acre per day. Now, I don't know how many people with a 1-acre pond is going to feed a 50-pound bag of fish food every 3.5 days. But that's about what it would take to start degrading water quality. Leo Wynn from California, Stephen Baker, Robbie Shell, he probably ought to bring him over here and let him ask these questions in person. He says, why not feed an off-species food like dog food to fish? There you go. You take that one.
Well, like you said earlier, dog food is not designed for fish.
Yeah.
So they do have different nutrient requirements. Fish food is designed to meet the nutrient requirements for fish. While dog food may have some of the nutrients, they won't have all the nutrients that fish need to grow, and at the rate that you expect.
Yes, that's right.
It certainly will eat it.
Yeah, and they've got a different digestive system. Like a largemouth bass, for example, when it eats another fish. There are no carbohydrates in a fish. You know, the carbohydrates are really in the feed to help hold it together.
Right.
Right? So where they're getting their nutrition is from the fish meal, the fish fat, the fish oil, you know, and then the micronutrients and things that are in that fish food, right?
Correct.
All right. Let's see. There's Tricia Miles from my neck of the woods. Hey, Scott Hohensy, let's get you up to bat here, buddy. We're going to talk a little bit about wildlife feeds in a minute. You know, Mike, I'm so glad that you're here and I got to join you guys. You have any closing comments? Where can people, if they want to get some fish food, where are they going to get it?
Well, certainly visit your local Purina dealer to find your Aquamax fish food information, or visit PurinaMills.com.
Okay.
There's a lot of great nutrition as well as pond management tips there.
That's right. And you can get some pretty good pond management tips at pondboss.com as well. All right. Well, Mike, this was fun, man. Thanks.
Thank you,
this
sir.
is a fast-paced hour. Hey, next up, we got another guest. We got Scott Hohensy from the hill country of Texas, and he manages wildlife feeds with Purina Mills. And I just wanted him to come. Hey, Scott, man, scoot over here. There you go. There's Scott. Look at that smiling face right there. Dude, you're on TV.
Awesome.
You're a star.
I'm telling you, not like you.
It's my show.
Fair enough.
All right, so bring everybody up to date on what's going on the wildlife side of things.
Well, Bob, you know, in addition to our Aquamax lines, we also have a complete line of deer feeds as well, our Antler Max line. So this time of year, everybody's pretty excited. We got antler development going on. We got about 3 more months left before everything's going to be growing out on antlers. So it's getting to be an exciting time of year. And there's Rob right there.
There's Rob. He's asking questions and walking by with Antler Max.
That's what a marketing manager does right there.
Sweet.
So, but now we've got those complete lines of Antler Max products too for all sorts of deer feed needs.
You know, I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there in the deer management business, because there's high fences, there's deer breeders, there's low fences, there are people that feed, people that don't. You know, and our audience here has got quite a few people who aren't in the deer business. Can they feed their deer?
Mm-hmm.
So they can set a feeder up where, like out in the backyard, or?
Yep. We've got everything that covers from deer blocks for the backyard enthusiast all the way to the high fence operations.
Okay, and so like if somebody wanted to, if they don't know what to do or what to feed, if they think they need a mineral block, they don't know, how can they get in touch with you guys and help them answer some questions?
You bet. You can reach out to us through either PurinaMills.com or on Facebook, Purina Wildlife. You can go there and message us as well, and we'll hook you up with the local wildlife specialist and in your area and even your local dealer, and make sure we get the product in for you and it's taken care of.
You know, one of my favorite things about Purina is not only the products are great, like I mentioned earlier, but they'll work with you on a program. You know, and the Purina Wildlife Facebook page is a great resource. I clicked like, and now every time he puts something on it, I get to read it, and I'm getting pretty excited about some of that stuff. Of course, I'm kind of a nerd with this stuff anyway, but you folks can get all kinds of information, and Scott especially, and Mike, and everybody here that we're working with are highly responsive, and they'll get you some answers. And if they don't, tell me, which I know they will, won't you?
Yes, sir. I'm on it.
There you go. Here's another question. We're going to switch gears, go back to fishing. It looks like Cliff Allman. My bass are eating floating catfish food. Some bass are about 4 to 5 pounds. Should I be feeding them a different food? You know the answer to that. The answer is yes. You need to be feeding them Aqua largemouth, because that floating catfish food is a vegetable or grain-based fish food, where Aqua largemouth is a fish meal-based fish food, and bass like to eat meat. Jason Luster, Billy Birch, glad to see you. Scott Lindsay is from Alamodora, checking in from Florida. Good to see you. Jennifer Royce from West Virginia. Okay, so now you've been highly proactive in the development of a bunch of these different wildlife products. Just for the general public's sake, just walk us through a typical program where somebody contacts you and says, "Hey, I want to start a wildlife feeding program." What are some of the pitfalls, pratfalls? What are some of the things that people need to think about with that?
Well, one of the common questions, Bob, that we get asked all the time is, I want to start a supplemental feeding program on my property. How do I go about doing it? And really, it's a pretty simple step. You need to go out, get you what we call a supplemental protein feeder. It's a free choice feeder. Deer can come up and go and eat all they want. But to get those deer trained to eat those pellets, you kind of got to teach them what it is if they don't have pre-exposure to pellets or know what it is. And all you do is get you a couple bags of Antler Max, get you a couple bags of whole corn, mix it together, put it in a feeder, spread you some corn out around on the ground below it. Those deer will walk up, go after that corn, they'll see it in the in those spouts, start picking at it, and then they'll start consuming that Antler Max pellet, and they're like, hey, this is pretty good stuff. And then over time, you wean that corn out. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take a couple of months, depending on the property and the location. But then once they get on pellets 100%, you're good to go.
When folks are first starting a program, I'll hear things with my fisheries business. Well, I'm just going to feed them corn. Okay, but that's an attractant rather than something that's nutritious for a deer.
Right.
So if somebody wanted to set up a feeder and start feeding deer, whether they intend to hunt them or just enjoy them, what does it cost? What's the ballpark number to get a reasonably priced feeder? Is there such a thing? That's a free choice feeder that the raccoons don't come and annihilate all the feed?
Right. Those feeders, Bob, they range in anywhere in size from 300 to 2,000 pound capacity. If you're a backyard enthusiast, a 300 pounder is great for that little operation. You can go out there and put a bag or two in it every week, all the way up to if you got a high fence property, a large acreage where you're feeding a lot of deer, you'd probably want to go with a 2,000 pound feeder that'll last you, 3-4 weeks or maybe even longer.
And how much does a bag of Antler Max cost?
$12.
$12. There you go.
$13.
Holy cow, look, there's Carter Vaughn. Hey, Carter, glad to see you joining us up, buddy. Tell your dad hello. Man, I'm glad you're there. Bruce Candello from Lincoln, Nebraska. Justin Vandehay, fisheries professor from Wisconsin. Glad you guys are here. Scott, can you give people some more tips about, because maybe they want to attract birds. Maybe they want to bring the deer off the neighbor onto their property. What are some of the things? I know this. When we start feeding fish and we start producing a bounty of fish, nature doesn't like that. Nature's going to send otters, cormorants, going to send alligators, whatever can come and eat those fish. that's going to come. Is there anything like that that happens with deer? I know we're probably the top predator of deer, but what are some of the things they need to be paying attention to in a program?
Well, like in a program, if you're going to make the investment to set up a supplemental feeding program correctly, like for example, would be if you got feral hogs. If you got feral hogs on your property, you're going to have to put hog panels up around those protein feeders. And the correct way to do that is put 12 hog panels in a circle, have you a distance of 60 feet across so those deer can jump in, have plenty of room to interact with each other, go through their social hierarchy in that process. They're really social animals, so you got to have the proper pen size in order to feed the deer efficiently and keep the feral hogs out.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, there's a tip you're not going to get anywhere else. That's outstanding. Hey, there's Morgan Tyler. You know him.
Yep, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, I think he's still at work.
No, Morgan, he's still at work.
He's a worker. John Wall, watching from North Cackalack. Hello, John. Well, you know what? We got about 5 minutes left. My voice is running out of gas. So I'm going to have to fuel it up a little bit. What are some... A gnat. That was a gnat. All right. So, I like the tip of making 60 feet because that accommodates a deer's ability to jump, turn, move, and it's not confined and it can escape. Mm-hmm. How do you keep raccoons out? How do you keep coons? I mean, you know, some of those demand feeders are high enough off the ground that the raccoons can't get.
You got to get you a high quality feeder that's going to
get a good feeder.
A good feeder where you got that leg spacing far enough between the legs and the feeder head, where they're going to have to do some really good acrobats to get over to that feed head. But a good quality feeder will have a slanted head design too, where there's no way to grip onto the head, and then also it's hard to get over to it. And another quick question, and I'm going to turn it over to you, is we get a question, you know, like, how does it work with food plots? Well, food plots are a great tool on a program, and a supplemental feeding program goes hand in hand with a food plot program. But one of the things you got to remember, you're going to set that supplemental feeder up, is put that feeder up about 100 yards in from the edge of that food plot. Don't put that supplemental feeder out there in the food plot.
Good tip.
Because you got to remember those big bucks is what we're trying to grow antlers on and maximize that genetics. Is those guys feel really comfortable off in the cover to go into that feeder instead of going like in the middle of the day out in an open field to go to a food source. So keep them off in the cover. Another good rule of thumb is if it's inconvenient for you to get to that feeder location, it's probably in a good place.
There you go. One final question, because we're going to wrap this hour up, this fast-paced hour. Will you, as a rep for Purina, will you come out to people's property and kind of help guide them on developing a program?
Sure. That's what we do. Our guys in the field, we do that all the time, all across the country.
So you're working with dealers. Mm-hmm. So here's how you get in touch with guys like Scott. You go to your dealer, tell them you're looking to put together a program. If your dealer is involved in that, they'll help you. But also you've got support from Purina. It's the same thing with the fish, same thing with your backyard flocks. It's the same thing with deer.
And you can go to purinamills.com. We've got some articles on there that'll help you, as I was mentioning before, setting up a program and different articles like that to help you out.
There you go. Excellent. $35, cheaper than Friday night dinner with my wife. Although I like Friday night dinners, honey. I hope you're not watching. Yeah, it's $35. Pond Boss. This is what fuels the economy and allows you to be able to see stuff like this and get this kind of information. So, folks, we're just about out of time. Let's see here. Bruce says you're supposed to eat gnats as opposed to breathing them out. You know what? That's the gnat, dude. It flew in the wrong hole. I tried to swallow it and it didn't go. Kevin Briggs is in. Rex Rains, water is for ponds. Yeah, well, I'm trying to get a contract with Deja Blue. We worked that out for me there, Rex. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I will be live again a week from this Wednesday, probably from Pond Boss World Headquarters, unless my daughter gives birth. Then I'll be giving this thing from a maternity ward in some hospital around Austin. See you later. Adios. Oh, come on. Come on now. Help me figure this out. It's supposed to stop.
Done.